Many people thought it was a match made in heaven when Melody, Shari, and Hill Harper first met, two well-known and successful people who seemed to get along on every level. But there was something going on behind the smiles and the well-kept public image. From now on, Melody is going to talk. He wasn't who I thought he was, she said. What could have happened between the Huntsville star's ex-lover and the award-winning actor that would have made her feel so hurt? Remember to wait, because I'm about to tell you something that will change the way you see both of them. If you've been following Melody Shari for a while, you already know that she doesn't like to cause trouble for no reason. She's been hurt in public, in work, and in friendships that turned bad, but she's always handled things with grace. Until now. This time, she's not mad at an ex-husband, a reality TV castmate, or even someone from her own life. It's meant for Hill Harper himself. Yes, that Hill Harper. He's the actor, campaigner, and politician who went to Harvard and has made a name for himself as the perfect gentleman. What went wrong then? Why is Melody now calling him out? What are the real events that happened behind the scenes that caused this mess? We're pulling back the curtain today. We'll look at how they met, the small red flags that most people missed, and the shocking moment that Melody realized she had been lied to. The whole time. If you watch this movie all the way through, you'll understand why this is a big deal on social media and why Hill Harper's reputation might not be safe after this. Now, this is where things get interesting. Based on what I learned, it looks like this tension didn't start yesterday. Things may have been getting tense behind the scenes for months before Melody chose to go public, but let's start at the beginning before we look at those people have always been interested in Melody Shari, and it's not just because of her part on Love and Marriage Huntsville. She's also smart, good at business, and able to handle the rough waters of reality TV with her pride intact. What about Hill Harper? He is better known for his work as an author and politician, but he is also an actor who has been on shows like CSI, Y, and The Good Doctor. The two seem very different on paper, in different fields, with different public images and totally different job paths. How did these two people meet in the first place? According to people who know them, their first relationship wasn't passionate, at least not out in the open. It began when they ran into each other at a charity event where Melody was the main speaker. Hill wasn't there as a performer or politician. He was there as a speaker who wanted to help minority groups get ahead financially. People who were there said that their first contact was friendly and interesting right away. They are said to have talked for almost 30 minutes, which is a very long time when you know about important events. Sources say that the two kept in touch soon after that meeting. People who watch someone on social media started to notice small interactions online, like here or a comment there. But no one paid much attention to it for months. After all, they both seemed to be busy with their own projects. After her split, Melody was building her brand and Hill was juggling her acting, writing, and political goals. Now, though, this is where things get interesting. Melody began to see a different side of Hill than what the public knew the more they talked behind closed doors. One of his close friends said she began to think that he was changing who he was when he talked to different people. You know Melody well enough to know that she doesn't ignore warning signs for long. It is important to understand this time, the friendly connection phase, because it sets the stage for a total loss of trust later on. Before we talk about the public backlash, That being said, Melody has learned from her past that people don't always show you who they really are. People who knew her well say it wasn't long before small red flags started to show. Sources say the first signs showed up during a secret meeting to work together. Hill is said to have talked to Melody about working together on a project that would teach people how to be businesses and handle their money. At first listen, it sounded great. They both have strong brands, a lot of fans, and a good reputation in their areas. But Melody allegedly saw that Hill's idea for a partnership seemed to help him a lot more than it would help her. A source told me that it seemed like he wanted to use her crowd without giving anything in return. And then there were the broken promises. In one case, Hill was said to be set to appear on a virtual panel that Melody was conducting. Fans were excited, the event had been promoted, and Melody had made Hill's participation public, but he changed his mind at the last minute. His reason? There was a schedule problem with another important event. Melody played it off in public because she was being polite. But friends say that behind the scenes, she was beginning to wonder where she really stood on his list of wants. A talk they were having about relationships and trust was another moment that told a lot. Melody is said to have told Hill about times when she was lied to or manipulated in the past, mostly in her marriage. Hill allegedly turned the conversation around to himself and talked about his own problems and frustrations instead of helping or understanding. Melody wasn't just upset about not being able to return the favor. You could tell Hill wasn't really listening, he was just waiting his turn to talk. Then there were the whispers. Some of Melody's friends began to hint that Hill was known to be different in private. To Than, he was in public. She was charming and charismatic on stage, but when the lights were off, she could be rude and even self-serving. Melody didn't want to believe it at first. Besides, Hill had been very polite to her the whole time. She thought that. But these little things started to add up. It might not be a big deal if you miss one meeting. It may be easy to forget about one awkward talk, but it's hard to ignore patterns once you start to see them. Melody was beginning to see the bigger picture. She kept things polite, though. She didn't stop following him. She didn't tell him to stop. She just took a step back until something happened that made her lose it all. Believe me. In the next part of the story, things get more tense between Hill Harper and Melody Shari in ways that no one saw coming. Melody Shari had been slowly pulling away from Hill Harper for months, not in a big or public way, but in the quiet, planned way she is known for. She didn't like to cause trouble when there wasn't one, especially with someone who had such a well-kept public image. That was until the event happened that turned mild anger into full-on disappointment. Several sources say that the breaking point happened earlier this year at a well-known business event in Atlanta. Melanie went to meet other important people, get the word out about a new business, and make connections. From the outside, it looked like Hill was also there, so it should have been a chance for them to officially support each other. But Hill allegedly didn't treat Melody like a friend, a peer, or even a coworker. He was said to have been indifferent. Witnesses say he barely said hello to her, choosing instead to spend most of his time with a small group of people who are well known in politics and show business. In the moment, one person who was there said it seemed like he didn't want and to be seen with her. It was weird because they had been cool in public before. Later that night, things got worse when a possible sponsor for one of Melody's future events came up to Hill and this was a turning point for someone who takes pride in being honest. At first, she didn't tell anyone about her anger. She only told a few close friends. Fans noticed that they weren't talking to each other like they used to, which led to reports about a fight. Melody knew it was only a matter of time before people started asking her directly about it. When Melody talks, she means what she says. She never goes public without proof, and she never calls someone out until she's done with them. So she chose to talk about it. She didn't have to say his name, but she did say things that would make people talk without having to. And she did just that in an interview that went viral very quickly. You need to hear about the quiet building in the days before she spoke out. Then we can talk about the interview and the exact words that made social media go crazy. The vague posts, the slight hints, and the one Instagram story that fans are still trying to figure out. Fans of Melody Shari know that she's great at getting her point across without talking too much. She doesn't always need to name names to get her point across. The way she sounds when she speaks and the words she uses can say a lot. And Melody was leaving clues all over her social media in the days before the now famous interview. The first clue was in her Instagram story, which said, "Pay attention to how people treat you when the cameras aren't rolling." The background was black and the text was white. But right away, her fans sent her direct messages wondering if it was about Hill Harper. Melody didn't say yes or no, but the timing was right for the event in Atlanta, where Hill was said to have brushed her off. After 2 days, she shared another post. This time, it was a short video clip of her going into a meeting while looking calm and sure of herself. It said in the caption, "I don't compay. T for jobs. Either I have the seat or I'll make my own table." That's a typical Melody. It was a slight flex that also felt like a warning shot to anyone who is trying to play down her worth. But when she shared an old photo of herself with some friends from the business, that's when her fans really went crazy. One of the people in that picture wasn't Hill Harper, but there was a clear line in the caption that said, "Some connections feed your soul, some people drain it, make a smart pick." Fans thought that the draining link might have something to do with Hill's account and tagged his account in the comments. Around the same time, Melody started responding to tweets that made her feel betrayed and let down. She liked a tweet that said, "When someone only shows up when it works for them. They're not a friend, they just use your service." Someone else said, "Silence doesn't mean I can't see what you're doing." Fans knew what she meant even though she never said why she liked them. After the live show, there was a lot of talk about what might happen. Melody went live for about 15 minutes and mostly talked about her new business plans. A fan then asked if she and Hill were still friends. She paused, smiled, and said, "Let's just say he wasn't who I thought he was." She didn't say more. She did not give any examples. The arrival, on the other hand, made the internet go crazy. Within hours, the video was shared on several fan pages, and people were analyzing every facial expression and word choice. Some people stood up for Hill and said that what she said could have been about anyone. Some people were sure it was a direct hit, even more so after all the mysterious posts from the days before. What started it all was that live stream. But what really set things off was an interview Melody did a week later. In that interview, she gave enough information about the person she was talking about without ever saying his name. Melody Shari did an interview on a show about pop culture and entertainment a week after her mysterious posts, and that live